This week, today's homeowner is on the road in New Hampshire to help out a family who had the luck of the draw in the Win Danny's Cruise sweepstakes. We've got a busy day ahead, so don't miss a minute. It's a cold and wet morning here in Windham, New Hampshire, and we're at the home of the winner of the Win Danny and his Crew for a Day contest. This was a contest that we featured a few months ago on our website, and you were able to enter through the website or through thousands of John Deere dealerships across the country. It gave the winner an opportunity to have me and my crew show up for a day and try to take care of a few of those little odds and ends they've had on their list for a long time. Let's see what these homeowners have on their list. Matt and Kristen Bouchard have been in this Windham, New Hampshire home for a little over a year. They built a brand new house so that they could spend less time renovating and repairing and more time with their boys, Caden, Owen, and now 1-month-old Sam. A few months ago, they were at their local John Deere dealer shopping for a mower when they threw their name in the hat for the drawing, which they won. So after meeting the family and taking the tour, it's time for me to pay up. First of all, congratulations, guys, for winning the contest. And do you win a lot of contests?
No.
No, never win.
No. So this was exciting. We forgot about it. We didn't even remember that, or I had put our name in. Matt was buying a tractor, and we got the call, and I don't think we believed it until we actually saw you guys.
Wow, that's pretty cool. I've never won a contest and everything, but I know it's hopefully it will be a good experience. What are some of the things you hope we can accomplish today?
Well, I think our biggest challenge and biggest eyesore is coming up the hill. Coming up the driveway.
That's quite a hill.
On the left-hand side, it is quite a hill. You know, we've been doing some landscaping around the house and trying to, dress the place up. And so Kristen and I, every time we drive up it, wouldn't it be nice to do something with that hill? And, we've had a lot of folks come out and look at it, landscapers, and they always go, wow.
You probably scared a few of those off now.
We did.
We did.
But there's always a few other little loose ends.
Sure.
I understand you need a little help in your workshop.
I do, yep. The builders just put in the basic basement lights, and I like a nice fluorescent light over my workbench, and an outlet to plug a saw into. And then the lattice work underneath the deck, just sort of dress that up a little bit. Sure. So.
Well, we'll take care of all of that. And you think if we improve his workshop a little bit, some of these other loose ends around the house will take care of themselves?
Yeah, everything will be fixed.
We'll get started and see how much we can get done today.
Okay.
That hill out front is pretty imposing, and since I'm a contractor, not a landscaper, I'm calling in some expert help on this project. Now, Ron, I know it's got to be quite a challenge when you're dealing with a slope like this. You got a lot of weeds you got to deal with, but you heard what the homeowners wanted to accomplish here. How are you going to go about it?
We've come up with a plan using plants that will retain the soil and the mulch in rain conditions and snow conditions like that. So we're going to use some low things that will obviously hold the soil in. And the other thing is we have to think about maintenance every year.
Right.
So we have to have those plants fill in so that they're not mulching every year. And so what we'll do today is we're going to come in and excavate all this weed and grass out. We're going to add some nice loam, and we'll lay our plants in and see how it works out.
While Ron and I were checking out the slope in the front yard, Alan and Tim have been scouting out the other chores we're taking care of for the Bouchards. In the backyard, the underside of their deck has been wrapped with lattice, but it was probably done in a bit of a hurry because there are a lot of raw edges and odd transitions. Who put up this lattice anyway?
Are we rolling?
Alan and Tim are working on a plan to smooth those out and still let Matt have access under the deck. Down in the basement workshop, they check out the available options to power that extra light Matt's looking for. He doesn't need that. I would just cut that off.
I don't need that.
Yeah, it's pretty, but we don't need that. And plan a path to wire the outlet he wants over his workbench. Meanwhile, Matt has joined me in the front yard, and while we're talking over Ron's plan for the slope, the heavy equipment starts arriving from the local John Deere dealer. These guys are ready to move some dirt. They've got a track-mounted excavator, a compact tractor with a front-end loader, and a Gator utility vehicle. This is going to be a lot of fun. While these guys get set up here, check out Joe's simple solution for your home workshop.
Here's a great tip for using a power miter saw to cut several boards to exactly the same length. Now most saws like this one come with a stop block, which is a metal fixture like this. The problem is they all have a little bit of play in it, and that will affect the accuracy. And plus you can't make shorter cutoffs. What I prefer to use is a wooden stop block. This is simply a half-inch piece of plywood that I cut to fit onto the saw fence itself. Now I'm aligning this with a mark that I made earlier for exactly 9¼ inches. And I'll check it for square once again just to make sure it's nice and accurate so the cuts will be perfectly straight and square. And then we're going to hold it with a couple of clamps. Now what that does, it allows you to make quick cutoffs exactly the same length. But what I really like about this tip is you can gang cut. You can cut several at once. Here we go. 3 boards at once. And because you're cutting them all at the same exact time, they're all exactly the same length.
This week we're in Windham, New Hampshire at the home of Matt and Kristen Bouchard. We're here to spend the day taking care of their to-do list. At the top of that list is this problematic hillside in front of their house. Local landscaper Ron Hill and his crew have joined us to add a little curb appeal to the front of the Bouchard's home. We're also getting some help from the folks at John Deere who sponsored the contest. They brought in some big tools to speed up the process of clearing off the hillside so that the new planting can get started. This big excavator seems like the perfect tool to scrape off the top layer of weeds, brambles, and debris in this real tricky location. Fortunately, the guy behind the controls, Troy, is a real pro. As he scrapes it off and piles it up, Mac picks it up with the front end loader and hauls it off to a low spot on the back of Matt and Kristen's lot. These two guys are making pretty quick work of this hill with their machines, but I can't resist getting behind the wheel of the gator to help out with some of the smaller stuff. These big machines seem to have inspired Matt and Kristen's 2 older boys, Caden and Owen. They've decided to do a little excavating of their own. As the focus in the front yard shifts to spreading the new topsoil onto the hillside, our materials for trimming out the deck arrive, and Alan explains how he plans to tackle this project.
We can like picture frame it out. In fact, if we want to, we could actually as we come across, we could step up and frame the whole base in.
What, run like a 1x4 along the bottom?
Yeah, come across here, come up and miter it, you know, boom, 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 across there. I would probably, although we have 2 joints here, Danny, I'm thinking just come in the center, we'll put one center one here. That one's kind of hidden.
Yeah.
But that way on the other sides where you have a joint, we can run another one down.
I can show you how to cut that miter joint.
Use with a.
I've never seen him stud. I've never seen him stud.
I just never knew you knew how to use a tool.
They're using 1x4s to create a frame around the existing lattice. This will hide the raw edges of the lattice and cover up those spots where the pieces don't quite line up. When you're adding bold horizontal and vertical lines like this, it's important that they be level and plumb even when the ground isn't. Ideally, the trim would have been attached to the lattice panels before they were mounted on the deck, but since they weren't, Tim's crawling under the deck so he can attach the lattice to the trim boards from the backside with short screws. This is necessary because there isn't always framing behind the lattice where the trim boards need to be attached. It's a 2-man job though. While Tim's drilling pilot holes and driving screws underneath, Alan's holding the trim in place, keeping it aligned and providing a little comic relief.
Once we get to that other side, we'll get it all blocked in, close you in under it, and then you'd be like the little garden gnome or, you know, the Billy Goat Gruff.
Yeah.
Basically, the process continues that way around the deck, creating a large, slightly complex picture frame for the lattice. This can get tedious, so I'm doing my part to keep it interesting.
In there. That would work. And get that off your shoulder, will you?
Around on the south side of the deck, Matt still needs access, and this is where Alan's plan comes in.
All right, so what we decided to do on this, because what the homeowner had up here was a little hard to access in that he had to break out his electric tools to take out these very long screws. We're going to put this in place. We'll drill, you got those? Here they are, Tim. We've got these galvanized bolts that we're going to run through the joists from the back all the way out, so that these actually have holes where the access panel will hang on these, and you only have to take the wing nuts on or off to gain access. So it'll be a little bit easier on him, quicker to access. Of course, up here in New Hampshire, they need plenty of that rock salt.
While these guys finish creating some access to this tight space for Matt, let's check in with Jody to look at a best new product that's ideal for cramped quarters.
Let me paint a picture for you. You're on your back, inside of a cabinet base, working above your head in a very tight space. What do you need to get those screws either in or out? You need a little compact screwdriver. That's what you need. This is the Black & Decker Compact Fit Design lithium-ion battery screwdriver, and this is perfect for just those applications that I've described or any other tight space area that you're going to be working in. What I like best about this too is not only is it very light, very small, but the battery charges up and it will stay charged up to 18 months. Plus, take a look at this. With a regular screwdriver, if I'm like working next to the floor and I've got to get a screw out right at the base of the cabinet, right at the bottom, do you see the gap there? It's almost like about an inch right in there, and that's about as tight. If I tilt it, I'm going to put that screw at an angle. If I screw it in, and that might not be what I need, but look at this right here. With my small little screwdriver here, I can get right up on that screw and I can get it in and out in no time. Again, this is the perfect little tool when you're working in those tight spaces. It's not so heavy and it won't get your arms tired when you're working over your head. A definite must for your toolbox.
This lucky New Hampshire couple's entry was drawn in the Win Danny's Crew sweepstakes, so we're spending the day checking off items from their to-do list. Item number 1, dressing up this hillside. Contest sponsor John Deere provided the horsepower to clear off the space and prep it with new soil, so now landscaper Ron Hill and his crew can start locating the dozens and dozens of plants he's chosen for this spot. Obviously, they want it to look good now, but they also have to consider how much each of these things will grow in the years ahead. Once the green stuff is situated, the excavator is back to help with some more heavy lifting. Hey, we spent most of the morning getting rid of all of the rocks that were in this area so that the plants could be planted. Now they're putting a few of the accent rocks in. You can see they already have one over there and one over there, so pretty good idea. It kind of gives a little bit of dimension to the overall bed. Pretty cool. Planting the plants is a little more of a delicate job, so I picked Ron's brain a bit about how his team approaches that on a hillside like this.
You want to have a good soil amended soil, okay, which we do before we do any of our plantings.
Right.
And then basically, we have a crew of people who go and dig the holes.
Right.
And we follow behind and just actually plant the plants.
Okay, all right. And how high or how low? That's always one of the things that you hear people have opinions on, because I've heard planting them too low is a problem. Planting them too high, especially on a hill like this, I can see where that would be a problem.
It is. And so what you want to do is you want to make sure that your front is a little higher so you can backfill up against it. So, and then the top and the back, you don't want it too high on the plant, so you have to kind of hollow out a little bit sometimes for that. So, if I was to show you how to do that.
All right. And what is this called? Is this?
This is an ornamental grass.
Okay.
Okay. Very hardy, very drought tolerant. So here we have a plant that has a lot of root system.
It's kind of root bound.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what we do is we take that and we just score the roots a little bit.
Oh.
Okay. And it kind of separates them up a little bit.
I got you. Gives them room to grow, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. And then again, we just set it in the hole.
Is that about the right height?
That's about the right height. So now you're going to be backfilling.
Right.
Bring that soil right up to the front, and now we're not too deep in the back.
I got you. And I always see guys packing the heck out of it. Why is that?
Yeah, you do want to make sure that there's have no air around the root system. And you want to firm the plant in, but you don't want to stomp it in so it's so packed.
Okay.
Okay. And then we just bring that up and kind of just.
And more rocks.
More rocks from the granite state.
Those rocks seem to be everywhere these guys dig. This part of the job would no doubt go tons faster if they didn't have to keep pulling rocks out of the holes they're trying to put plants in.
What state was this again?
The granite state.
Yeah, buddy.
Now Alan and Tim have already completed item number 2 on Matt and Kristen's list, trimming out the lattice around the backyard deck. So they moved down to the basement to add a light and an outlet for Matt's workbench, which was number 3 on the list. The power for the light will come from an existing light across the room, so Tim drills a series of holes in the floor joist above to route a 3-conductor wire from that box to the location of the new light. Meanwhile, Alan's marking and cutting the location for the new outlet box. Then they use a fish tape to pull more wire from the box location up to the top of the wall,
And we have wire.
so the outlet can be connected to the power as well. In this kind of situation, it's easier to wire the device and mount it in the box before connecting it to the power in the junction box. Of course, you want the circuit breaker turned off before you do that.
That it? Okay.
The fluorescent light fixture will be suspended by chains from eye hooks mounted in the joist overhead. Again, he's doing all of the wiring and assembly work before tying the new fixture into the circuit it will draw power from. But does it work?
It works.
I guess so. That just leaves us to finish up out front, and we're in the home stretch with the mulch. It's dumped on the driveway above the work area, shoveled into wheelbarrows, and dumped in from above so Ron can carefully spread it around the new plantings. Now, if all of this has inspired you to think about a landscape project, check out this week's Thinking Green. As homeowners, we all like to have a nice looking yard. And if you've got any kind of landscaping to do, let me encourage you to think about a more eco-friendly yard by using indigenous plants. One of the great things about native plants is that they typically don't need any excess fertilizer or pesticide. A startling watershed study recently discovered that up to half of nitrogen and phosphorus fertilizers ran off from its intended location and into the local waterway. Indigenous plants also help to improve the local air quality since it reduces the dependence on some lawn maintenance equipment. And the best benefit is that it encourages visits from friendly local wildlife like songbirds and butterflies. So when it's time to dress up the yard, there's no need to think exotic. Instead, go native. Well, our trip to New Hampshire seems to have been a success. The hillside landscaping project for our contest-winning homeowners, Matt and Kristen, is complete. What was a weed-covered hillside has been beautifully landscaped to create a much more appealing first impression as you come up their front driveway. Of course, the real test is, what do they think?
No, it looks great.
It looks awesome.
In addition to the new look on the front of the house, we've also managed to dress up the deck out back a bit too, and give Matt the access he needed beneath it. He'll also have no more excuses for unfinished projects in his basement workshop thanks to Alan and Tim's electrical upgrades. We've had a great experience here in New Hampshire. We were able to work with some fantastic homeowners, and Ron and his crew, obviously very professional in their landscaping. They take a lot of pride in their work. This looks so much better than the hill with all the weeds that we had when we started here early this morning. And I hope the few things that Alan, Tim, and I were able to accomplish around the house will help make living in the house a little bit nicer for the Bouchards. Hey, thanks for being with us here on today's Homeowner. I'm Danny Lipford. We'll see you next week.